So what does it take to make a great adventure? Well, you need an adventurer or an explorer, or maybe a group of them, exotic locations, risk, excitement, the element of danger, and of course, the unknown. You mix all those together and you have the makings of a great adventure. But I think you need something else as well. You need a great adventure story, and I think good adventurers are also good storytellers. So I decided to try a little experiment. Take a trip to an exotic location, stir in a little bit of excitement, risk, a sense of danger, and a little bit of the unknown, and build an adventure story around that. So join me now as we go in search of the floating mountains of Moab. In the summer of 2020, my wife and I left our home and set out on a great adventure. The journey would take us across continents, through jungles, over mountains, down rivers to the valley of Moab and its fabled floating mountains. We had as our guide our journal with notes we had gathered over months of researching ancient manuscripts, message boards, internet sites, and Facebook groups. Our journey began as we passed through the world's gates and made our way to the appropriately named Adventurers Outpost. There we loaded up provisions, wet our cooling towels, and looked for signs that might indicate the way to our first checkpoint. We made our way through the village of Harambe towards the river and the port where we might book passage on a barge or freighter to take us downriver. Fortunately, the gate was unlocked and we secured passage on a small barge. The river was busy with all manner of vessels, some hosting exotic creatures. After several hours, we saw the Forbidden Mountain in the distance. This might prove to be one of the most dangerous legs of the journey, as this mountain was home to the Yeti, which legends described as a giant and terrifying beast few had survived encountering. We looked for the wooden carving that marked the entrance to the railway through the mountain. At the entrance were flags and markers of previous expeditions. As we made our way toward the rail depot, it was eerily quiet and the depot seemed abandoned. We found the small locomotive and boarded. I was able to figure out the controls as we set off into the mountain. As we ascended, we began to hear strange noises from deep inside the mountain. I steadied my hands on the controls. As we came around a bend, we were dismayed to see the tracks torn up in front of us. Surely the work of the beast. I moved the control into reverse, hoping to find an escape. The creature followed us in the darkness. I pushed the machine as fast as I dared, hoping to escape the clutches of the Yeti. In the end, my wife got a nice photo, which we posted on our Facebook page. As we left the railway on the far side of the mountain, we found the spitting cobra and followed the direction it pointed. Crossing a bridge, we made our way to the raging river below and boarded a raft with some other explorers and set off downriver. The initial portion of the trip was calm as we passed curious ruins along the way, but we could hear and see the river becoming more turbulent ahead. We braced ourselves as our little raft bounced and spun, carrying us faster and faster. And there ahead, a waterfall. We held on. We prayed. We may have screamed a little. And we were over. And then we were down, coasting gently to the bank. We followed the path, looking for the stone obelisk with the word Africa carved into it. This would be the starting point for the next leg of our journey across the African savannah. We headed to the safari office so we could book a driver and vehicle to take us on our way. Our driver seemed eager to take the most direct route, but we emerged into a vast open space full of unusual animals. Spotted horses with long necks, giant creatures with giant ears, a huge cow-like beast submerged in a lake, and even a giant bird that chose to walk and not fly. We arrived at the warden station where we got directions to the marketplace where we would go look for our next sign. A wall painting of a small mouse-like creature that marked the path we needed to follow. We found it quickly, and then I looked for transport to take us on our next leg of our journey. Motorized transport, as we were getting a bit weary. As we set out, we could still see the mountain of the Yeti in the distance, and noticed that the picture we had posted of him on Facebook was getting many likes. We headed south, once again crossing the river in search of our next checkpoint, the largest tree in all the region, the Tree of Life. As we approached, we noticed intricate carvings of wild creatures, and realized to our horror that we hadn't taken a selfie in a while. We did, and then set out to find the giant chameleon wooden statue. We found it hidden in the bushes, beautiful and yet somehow creepy. It pointed to the hidden entrance to the Cave of Wonders. We mustered our courage and entered, and did indeed encounter wonder, specifically the eighth wonder of the world, the backside of water. You really just can't get enough of that. Leaving the Cave of Wonders, the sun was getting low in the sky, and we set out toward our next checkpoint, looked for a place to eat and rest, grabbed another selfie, and stumbled upon the place where nomads lounge. We were served tantalizing breads with colorful dips and delicious sauces, and we ordered the magical elixirs that would help us connect with our spirit guide for the last leg of our journey. After imbibing, we followed our spirit guide to the entrance of an underground river and boarded a small raft. There was a strange but beautiful glow that filled the cavern. I could not determine its source, and we saw remarkable plants and creatures, and passed a vast treasure of crystals and mysterious objects. We exited the cave, our eyes struggling to adjust to the light, and there, in the distance, we saw them, the floating mountains. We rushed to get closer. Words cannot describe the sight we beheld. We stood staring upward in silence for a long time, and I wondered if we would ever leave this place. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story. Remember, we all have the ability to find adventure in the things we do. You just have to let that inner explorer and adventure inside you out a little bit. Well, until our next expedition, my friends, Gungaloosh.